Hey everybody, how's it going? Chris here from Wicked Repairs. I just wanted to thank everybody for subscribing to my channel, for commenting on my videos, sometimes suggesting things. Well, as much as I may know or think I know, I learn things along the way as well. And I enjoy making videos for you guys to be able to learn yourselves and get a little hands-on with your machines. So this is a video of a Yamaha Rhino 450, and it's just a oil change process, very simple, but you know, sometimes people don't always know how to do stuff like that or how to do it properly. Adding too much oil is very easy to do and could be a bad thing. So I hope you enjoy the video, and thank you all very much. And I also wanted to mention to everybody, in case you're into history, metal detecting, finding treasures, anything like that, if you would go to my other channel. It is Wicked Digger on YouTube, and I hunt farms and woods and properties, and look for treasures in history, lost history. I've always been a big history guy, and I enjoy metal detecting as a hobby very much so. And you know, if you want to follow me on Wicked Digger, I'd appreciate it very much. And hope you enjoy the video. Thank you. So we have here a 2007 Yamaha Rhino 450. Doing a full service to this, minus doing a valve adjustment, and I'm going to be installing a aftermarket winch that the customer provided. Hopefully it fits. I haven't looked at that yet. But anyhow, I just wanted to go over the basics of doing an oil change on one of these Yamaha Rhinos. Super easy. To take off the seats, this is normally where the seat would be, of course. One seat here, center console, and the driver's seat. Right in the very front of the seat is a little latch. You just pull the latch up, pop the seat off. It kind of pulls forward just slightly, because it has tabs that go under these rails that holds the seat in place there. Once you take the seats off, that is the only thing that's actually holding down the center console. There's no hardware or anything for the console. The only thing you may have to remove is this little rubber boot that goes over the parking brake. Take that off and then pull the center console right off. When you put it back on, make sure that the seat belts get pulled in so that the console goes in between the belts and not over them to cover them. When you drain the oil, it is a 21 millimeter drain bolt that's right underneath the motor. Your oil filter is going to be located here, and your oil dipstick is going to be located here. Your oil drain plug is going to be right there through this access hole. Okay, 21 millimeter socket, and that's going to remove your drain plug. On the drain plug, there is a crush washer that should be replaced, okay? The Yamaha part number for this crush washer is 214-11198-0100. They're super cheap, and I highly recommend that you replace these on your drain bolt for the engine, for the front differential, and for the rear. It's important that if you have this washer on any Yamaha, you should replace it with that washer. I prefer these over a replacement with a copper washer. I just like these. They're cheap. It's easy enough to replace them. Now ideally you would want the machine hot to do an oil change. That way the oil is thin and just flows right out. I did just that. I started the machine up, I drove it around for probably about 15 minutes, real slow, just getting it hot. Pulled the drain plug, took the dipstick out, took the oil filter off, which on these you always get oil that dribbles down here. It's not too much. I mean, you could stuff it with rags or something and it'll absorb most of it. I pull it off. Whatever spills, I clean it down with brake cleaner, you know, and get the new oil filter on. Always check, of course, on your oil filter when you take the old one off. Make sure that the O-ring comes off with the oil filter and doesn't stay stuck to the engine block. That way you don't accidentally have two gaskets when you put the oil filter on. It will definitely create an oil leak, a big mess, and nothing but a headache. So very important to look at that. Always oil the lip of the new O-ring from the oil filter that goes on. The oil filter that can go on this machine has kind of quite a range of numbers, as they've been superseded and changed over the years. Anything between a 5GH 13440 -00-00 all the way up to a 5GH 13440 -50-00. So there's a bunch of options out there. It could be a 00, a 10, a 20, 50. So there's a bunch of numbers, but that's ideally what it's going to be. You'll see this one's a 00. Okay, 5GH 13440 00 oil filter. When you do the oil change on this and you start up the motor and you check in the oil and stuff like that, all Yamahas, when you check the oil, you do not actually screw the dipstick in, okay? So you just take the dipstick and you rest it. You simply rest it on the engine block, and then you check it. It has a small hash mark area on the bottom, and basically where you want it is about anywhere between the bottom and the top of that little teeny area. So we're gonna screw this in. I'm gonna start up the motor and we're gonna check the oil level here. Choke it a little bit, it's a little cold now. Let it run, for a couple minutes, and then let it idle for at least 30 seconds before you shut it down. Make sure you don't give it any throttle. If you do, let it idle for at least 30 seconds. It's a little cold, let's start it back up. But I usually let them run for a few minutes to get pretty warm. And like I said, if you give it any throttle, let it sit for at least 30 seconds before you shut it down to check the oil level. So once you ran the machine for a few minutes, let it idle for at least 30 seconds, and then let it sit for about another minute or two, and then check your level. If you need to add more, which you most likely will have to, unless you added the perfect amount to begin with, but once it goes and oils everything, goes through all the ports and fills up your oil filter, you usually need to add a little bit more. I don't know, a quarter of a quart to a half a quart. Go little by little. It's a lot easier to just add little by little till you're there, rather than pouring too much in on accident and then having too much. So when you check it, just rest it there, do not thread it in, and that's perfect, right where you should be. Okay, we're about 3/4 of the way in between those two hashes. Okay, oh, it won't go focus, but almost at the very top. So that's perfect. You obviously, when well, not obviously, because maybe you don't know this, but when oil heats up, it usually expands in level as well. So if you have it at the very top of that line, when it's cold, it's going to expand and kind of get more area covered. You don't want to overfill these. It'll start blowing oil into your air filter, saturate your air filter, blow out seals, who knows. So could be a bunch of things. So that's basically exactly how you would do an oil change on a Yamaha Rhino 450 and the 660 as well. This particular machine is also going to be getting a new air filter. Typically you can replace these. If that happens and this falls off, obviously it needs to be tightened. There's a little tab right here on the rubber that's going to go right in between these marks, so that the alignment of that intake is where it should be. But as you can see, his air filter is completely torn. I did get a new air filter, and we're going to replace this. So we're going to clean out his air box as well. It's full of seed. Always make sure that you clean these. If it ever rips like this, it should be replaced. But as long as you never have a tear in one of these foam air filters, you can clean them and reuse them for the entire life, unless they tear. Always make sure that you use Yamaha air filter oil or something equivalent to oil the new air filter, or to re-oil an old one that's been cleaned. Super important. If you don't oil it, then dirt's going to go right through this air filter. The oil is there, air filter oil, not motor oil. Air filter oil only, it's there to catch all the debris from getting sucked into your intake and going into your carburetor, and that will do all kinds of engine damage. So thank you very much for watching this video on doing a oil change, and we'll catch you on the next one.